Thank you, Minister. Minister, did you ever hold a meeting and have a discussion with the National Commissioner of Police and possibly other senior SAPS members with the agenda item being the disbandment of the PKTT? It doesn't matter if there were possibly other agenda items, but the disbandment of the PKTT being a focal point. Did you ever have such a meeting?
On the 1st of November, we discussed this matter, and I think there are attachments that point to the content of our discussion on the day. But it was not disbandment; it was review of the PKTT. And on the 22nd, it was the same.
Your answer to my question whether you ever had a meeting, an agenda item of which was specifically the disbandment of the PKTT, I understood your answer to be that there never was such a meeting, but that at the meeting of 1 November 2024, what was discussed was the review of, amongst others, the PKTT. Did I understand you correctly?
Correct.
Yes. From then, that point, that is from 1 November 2024 up to and including 31 December 2024, did you ever have any other meeting that discussed the disestablishment of the PKTT?
We had a more or less similar meeting.
Similar, meaning still a review.
On the 22nd.
Still about a review.
Yes.
So effectively, or perhaps before the question I almost asked, Minister, what was the relationship, working relationship of course, between you and the National Commissioner from the time you became Minister of Police up to the 31st of December 2021? What was the working relationship like between the two of you?
It was what I could describe as a very good relationship.
Very good working relationship.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, on the 31st of December 2024, you surprise everybody within SAPS, in particular the top management, with your decision of that day. And you do this having a very good working relationship with the National Commissioner of Police. You accept that that is effectively what you did. You as it were, if I were to be metaphorical, you drop a bomb like that.
Not exactly.
The PKTT is being praised at meetings of the Interministerial Committee, correct? Correct?
Yes, correct.
Correct. Now you are suggesting that because something had happened or had been said in the work study, therefore, senior management of SAPS must have expected that you could just drop what I will continue to call this bombshell, even though they have been praised throughout, right up to the time of the last meeting of the IMC. No, they were actually expecting a disbandment. Can you seriously say that, Minister? The work study report So what I'm saying is, surely if they are being praised, Minister, they can't expect that, oh, but we're going to be terminated the very following day. So what I'm putting to you is, on what basis can you seriously contend that they must have been expecting that the PKTT would be disbanded? Just on what basis? They are being praised for what they do. On what basis could they think, despite our performance, good performance, insofar as I'm not talking about Dr. De Haas and other people, yes, and I'm by no means judging what they, Dr. De Haas and others have said, not at all. But I'm saying, in accordance with the assessment of the IMC, they are performing very, very well. On what basis can you seriously suggest that they must have been expecting that they could be disbanded any day?
Now, firstly, on the basis that subsequent to, and I'm careful, you will correct me, just shortly after the letter of the directive, National Commissioner in the preliminary report says they have achieved what they were supposed to achieve, which is not something that I think just arose after the directive. It would have been there, noticed and identified. That is my point number one. In other words, and secondly, I would say, on the basis that, therefore, they would have been seen even by management not only to have performed very well and commended, but have achieved what they were set up to achieve. And this is backed by stats, the deterioration, the decrease, substantive decrease, especially in 2023, of political matters, indicated by stats, down to 11, and 2024 down to 7 matters. So, and though on the basis, sheer basis of the problem or the challenge for which they were established, and then discussions in the meetings in November, there would have been that kind of understanding that they have achieved their role.
Minister, I have a serious difficulty with that answer. You see, if you were giving us that answer having consulted with them and they had said this before you took the decision, your answer would make sense. Your answer does not make sense because it's something that you get to know after you had taken that decision. So on that basis, I say, or I suggest to you, Minister, that your answer does not make sense. Would you accept that? You knew nothing about what General Masemula would say after you had taken that decision. So that means nothing insofar as your decision is concerned. Do you accept that?
But if you refer to the meetings of November 1 and 22 November, I wouldn't necessarily agree with you that it was a surprise and given all the background, because we're already now in November.
Minister, please, I don't interrupt lightly.
Okay.
But I'm not talking about what had happened before now. I am asking a question that relates to what you say happened after you had taken your decision. So I do not see how you now go back. I'm saying, your answer that General Masemula says, what the PKTT was set up to achieve had been achieved, sort of aligns with your decision. So I'm saying that answer to my question does not make sense, because what General Masemula says post the taking of your decision could not have been a factor in your mind or could not in any way have informed your decision because you get to hear of it after you had taken your decision. So I suggest to you that the answer to my question does not make sense. Do you get me now? Do you get me?
I get you very clearly.
Do you agree with my suggestion to you?
I would say the answer to your question lies not necessarily on the meeting, on the preliminary report on the 22nd January. It lies in the meetings in November, before I wrote the directive, of the 1st of November, the 22nd of November, even though it was not directly a disbandment, but the answer lies there, that there is this review, there is this discussion, there is this anticipation.
Was a point, Minister, ever reached at the November meetings?
Pardon?
Was a point ever reached at the November meetings? November meetings which were about a review. Was a point ever reached at those meetings or at any other meeting before 31 December 2024 that there should be disbandment? Was such a point ever reached?
My argument, sorry.
Was such a, please, not an argument, just a response to that question, and it's a very simple one. And a yes or no could do, unless you must explain. Was such a point ever reached, Minister, that there should be disbandment?
I would say many times, Commissioner.
Before 31 December 2024?
In the sense that
when you are the minister, I'm talking about when you are the minister, let's forget about the work study.
Okay.
And I don't even agree that there was anything that there should be a disbandment even there. But anyway, the November meetings up to 31 December 2024, was a point ever reached? So I'm giving you a timeline. Was a point ever reached that the PKTT should be disbandment? Was such a point ever reached?
No, it was not. That point was never reached, except in context of what we were discussing.
You see why I'm asking you this question? Because you keep going back to the November meetings. That is why I want a categorical answer from you, whether a point was ever reached that the PKTT should be disbanded. So your answer is that no such point was ever reached.
No such point was ever reached directly, as you ask.
Well, thank you. Now, my next point. You have a very good working relationship. I'm using your exact words. Who, with the National Commissioner, Minister, who do you think was best placed to brief you, to brief you on whether or not the PKTT should be disbanded?
Now, that's...
Bear in mind that you have a very good working relationship with the National Commissioner of Police, our entire police service, the South African Police Service. You have a very good working relationship with the person who heads it. Who do you think was best placed to brief you on whether the PKTT should be disbanded?
It would be, I would be informed by discussions. I would be informed by conclusions on those discussions, not necessarily to say, come and brief me on the disbandment, but if I needed a briefing. But I took it that the discussions that we had had by that time informed all of us that that is the imperative that we are getting to. Looking at organizational structures, looking at where we were going, somebody needed to take a decision, and I took the decision at the end of the year.
Minister, I'm not sure that answers my question. I want a clear indication on a particular warm body or particular warm bodies. And I try to assist you by making a specific reference to the person that heads the police, of which you are the minister. I'm asking for a warm body, all warm bodies, that were best placed to advise / brief you on whether the PKTT should be disbanded. Or does the long explanation you give suggest that as you sit there, you take the view that there is not a single person that you thought would be best placed to brief you on whether the PKTT, a task team of the South African Police Service that the National Commissioner heads, should brief you? Are you saying, as you sit there, there is no such person? You were entitled to just take the decision without at all being briefed by a particular person that should have been best placed to brief you?
Commissioner, I would
So the question is two-pronged, as it were. I've not dropped the first part, which is, who do you think was best placed to brief you? And then there's the second prong, which is, as you sit there, are you suggesting that there's no such person?
No, I'm merely saying we had discussions, in other words, briefings from the National Commissioner in November, and we were agreeing that there should be a review, but it was not particularly on disbandment. And if there would have been identification of the need for a briefing before, it would have been...
Again, Minister, I'm asking about a person that would have been best placed. I'm not asking you about what was done or what was not done. Who is the person, who is the functionary that would have been best placed to brief you? That's a very simple question, Minister, please.
It is the National Commissioner.
We all know you did. We all know that you took the decision without asking him to brief you on whether the PKTT should be disbanded. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, if he was the person best placed to brief you, why did you not ask him to brief you?
Now, this decision, as I say, flows from the 29th, when I finally took the break. 29, 30, 31, I write...
29, when you finally did what?
29 December.
When you finally did what?
When I finally took the break to reflect on what we had been doing all the time. So I reflect on the 28th, I reflect on the 30th, and I say, let me issue this directive, and then we will start engaging after. And in the meantime, there would then be space for all of us to engage. If it comes to a point where we have to review the decision through the preliminary report or something else, that I would be prepared to do.
If you were open to a review, what was the big rush?
Pardon?
If you were open to a possible review which could have resulted in the reversal of the decision, what was the big rush? You say 29, 30, 31, you decide. What was the big rush? What was the big rush, Minister?
The rush,
yes,
if I could use your words, Commissioner, was to give an indication that what was supposed to have happened before and the wrongs that were going on in terms of budgeting and so on. Let us discuss those at the beginning of the year, but the decision is being taken that we disband, and so that we now focus on the decision, whether we agree, all of us, on this, or we don't agree, it would be fine. I was flexible and I was open to that decision, but don't postpone taking a decision at the time that you think you need to take a decision. And I didn't see anything wrong in taking the decision, but open and flexible to whatever that could come after the engagements. There are decisions that, there are instances where decisions have been taken and you say this decision needs to be taken in the interest of the public, and then we will consult. There are such instances that have happened in government.
Minister, I still don't understand that explains the big rush, especially if you say that you were open to being convinced that the decision ought not to have been taken. Why start with a decision and await a possible reversal if you are convinced? It just gives me the sense that you were in a terrible rush. So my question stands, why the big rush? Why this terrible rush? I don't understand.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it was a big rush. It merely was an exercise of the power to issue a directive, which I could use and then have a discussion. I didn't see anything wrong with a decision and then we discuss.
Minister, ministers don't issue directives for directives' sake. Why could you not rather say to the National Commissioner, National Commissioner, I am minded to disband the PKTT. Please tell me why I should not do so, and only disband the PKTT if you were not satisfied with the reasons that he gave you. Why did you not do it that way? I just don't understand this inverted decision, as it were. Decision, but I may be convinced to reverse it. That doesn't make sense to me. Why did you not say to General Masemula, General, I'm minded to disband the PKTT. Give me reasons why I should not do so.
Well, I didn't think that particular way, Commissioners. I thought that I would give the directive and we would sit down and have a discussion as indicated in my letter. And I didn't think that was constituting any offense or that it was in breach of any law, as it were, or in breach of the Constitution.
Minister, did you not realize that the disbandment of the PKTT would have serious implications, both in terms of the work that it performed, in terms of all the dockets that it handled, at all of the various stages at which they were? Did you not realize that? Well, I didn't write anything about dockets. This was not a decision like, let us buy a generator for the department, you know. It was not that, yes, that too has financial implications, but I think the implications of disbanding the PKTT would be far-reaching. Do you accept that that is so? I didn't indicate anything about dockets because I understood that when I issued the directive, it doesn't have immediate implications
on what was happening in relation to dockets, and it wouldn't have, because that would be a subject of discussion in the preliminary report and subsequent meetings that would take place. This was a mere decision to say, let's start the process of engagement, in other words.
Insofar as you were concerned, the effect of your decision would be down the line, as it were.
That the effect of my decision would be assessed properly, engaged on after the decision in the preliminary
if
report.
it were to take effect, and I'm saying if it were to take effect because you say there could have been the possibility of a reversal. So if it were to take effect, it would take effect down the line. Do you accept that?
If there would be...
If your decision were to take effect, it would take effect down the line. Do you accept that?
Yes, I accept that.
Yes. This takes me back to my question as to, it's not as if once you said disbanded immediately, your decision would take effect immediately. So if that were the case, I go back to my question, why did you rush and say disbanded immediately? Why did you not invite input on whether there should be a disbandment at all?
Commissioners, the letter itself, as I've indicated, clearly got written with a fair space for engagement. As I said before, it was not to say stop everything as of now, minding that it was 31st of December, and it says, let's engage through the preliminary report.
Exactly my point.
Yes.
Exactly my point. Why not engage before? Why rush to the decision to disband immediately? Exactly my point, Minister. But I will move on. Maybe let me leave my colleagues, perhaps will deal with the disbandment issue and your letter later. I have a few other questions which